Hey everybody, my name's Christian. I'm an intern here at the Henson Zoo, and today we're going to talk to you about the animal ambassadors. So we have a couple animal ambassador programs here at the zoo, and why they're important is because they offer really important education to the public. We have a couple different species here, and they all represent their own species, some of the threats they face, what's interesting about them, and it gives a chance for the public to interact with them, and it gives a chance for them to develop a sense of empathy with the species that you wouldn't normally get just hearing about them from a fact sheet or a sign. So today I'm going to introduce you to one of our animal ambassadors. His name is Art, and you might have already seen him moving around down here. This is Art. This is our resident painted turtle. And he's called a painted turtle because, as you can see, he has all these bright colors on the inside of his shell. They live to around 40 years old. Right now he's 26, so he's getting up there. He lives mainly in aquatic environments like rivers, lakes, ponds, creeks, anything you can think of like that. And his favorite thing to do is bask in the sun. And that's because he, like all other reptiles, are cold-blooded and they need to warm up in the sun. What he eats, he's an omnivore. He likes insects like crickets and mealworms, but he also eats vegetables like lettuce and also fruits like strawberries, things like that. As you can see, he's quite flat-shelled, and that's because he does live in aquatic environments, so he can glide through the water a lot easier. And you can't really see them right now, but his legs are also quite flattened so that he can push water and move more effectively in the water. During the winter time, it does get very cold in some of the regions that the painted turtles inhabit. So what they do is called brumation. That's where they bury themselves in the mud at the bottom of waterways, and they can actually end up holding their breath for about 2 months. And they last under there because they have antifreeze-like chemicals in their blood that lets them survive through the winter. While a species isn't technically considered endangered, he still faces some threats in his everyday life, or at least individuals of his species. Some dangers that his species faces is that the females, when moving nesting sites, they have to cross roads, so they can fall victim to car accidents a lot. And another thing is that a lot of the time, either little kids or pet traders looking to make a quick buck will take them out of the wild, and what that ends up doing is there's less individuals in the wild and they become used to human care. So if somebody ever decides that they don't want to take care of the turtle anymore, or he's been around too long because of how old they can get, they put them back in the wild and they end up not being able to survive on their own anymore. And the last one is that they also face pressure from invasive red slider turtles, which end up getting about twice as big as our friend Art here. And they eat many of the same foods. They also enjoy basking. So what happens is that the red sliders outcompete the painted turtles in every aspect of their environment. Something to note that's important is the difference between turtles and tortoises. Like I mentioned earlier, our friend Art, a painted turtle, has a very flat shell and flattened feet, which allows them to excel in their aquatic environments that they call home. Tortoises, on the other hand, only dwell on land. And tortoises have a much more rounded shell because they don't have to be hydrodynamic in the water. They also have much more thick legs that point straight down towards the ground because they spend a lot of their time walking, whereas our turtle friend here has flattened feet, like I mentioned earlier, that come more out of the shell instead of pointing down. And that's just one of the things that we can use Art to educate you about. So animal ambassadors like our friend Art here are really important resources for organizations like us here at the Henson Zoo to teach you, the public, about conservation efforts. And it also allows for people like you, the visitors, to interact with animals that they might not necessarily be able to out in nature. So with that, me and Art are going to say goodbye to everybody. And we'll see you next time here at the Henson Robinson Zoo.